This page summarizes the property management functions available in ARCHICAD. I will read them up and then we will go one by one and look at these. We can browse properties from a property set predefined by the IFC standard scheme, or we can also create as many custom properties as we want without property number limitation. Schedulable instance properties and quantities, and also GDL parameters can be assigned to IFC properties with mapping rules set with the IFC scheme setup command. The IFC standard allows us to use a special so-called classification reference data to categorize elements by different local standards such as omniclass and uniclass, company standards, or just project requirements. The IFC standard allows us to group instances based on common functionality and properties in types. For example, windows with the same geometry and material can be assigned to a window style. Then on IFC properties can be shown in floor plan, elevation, and section views, and in other 2D documentations thanks to the skills of the label, the marker, and the zone stamp tools. IFC properties can also be displayed in BIMX models. We can also search for for elements based on their IFC properties by using them as search criteria at the find and select function. We can list IFC properties with the schedules command as well. So in the remaining time, we will go through these property management tools one by one. And first of all, we will look at mapping examples. So how is an element instance's property mapped with an IFC property? Let's take a window. I will select one of our windows here and go to its setting and look at its parameters. We have to look at all parameters. And for this next part of the demo, you have to be basic in Norwegian, because this is from a Norwegian library and the parameters are all in Norwegian. However, I will help you. The fire rating here is called brannklasse in Norwegian, and acoustic rating is called lindkraft, 2 lines under here. And if we look at the values here, 1 hour and 35 decibels. If we look under tags and categories, we have the same values here. We have acoustic rating and fire rating, and we have matching values, right? So how is that? How did it automatically get there? These IFC properties are mapped with the Windows parameters. So if we look in the Manage IFC Properties dialog, and I have checked this button to only show me the properties that have values assigned to them. You can see here that a chain icon before a property shows that the property is mapped. Now, how did that chain icon get here? We still didn't get an answer to that. So we have our 35 decibel and 1 hour here. How is mapping done? If we go to File Special, IFC 2x3, and open the IFC Scheme Setup dialog, basically, this is the dialog to get mapping done. IFC properties can be managed and stored in schemes. And in the IFC scheme setup dialog, we can set the content of a scheme, including the data mapping between IFC and ARCHICAD data. So I'm going to go ahead and select a window. The elements, such as building elements, MEP elements, are organized on the left here in a tree based on the IFC code. And the middle part of the dialog, this one, shows the properties available for the IFC windows in the current scheme. properties in this middle part are grouped in property sets. We can create as many custom properties as we want, but Building Smart, the developer of the IFC standard code, offers a preset of properties for different element types. Property sets with a name that starts with pset. Here, pset window command, for example, store these standard properties. So those are the Building Smart standard properties. So for example, the pset window command property set shows properties recommended for Windows by the IFC code developers. This set includes both the previously shown acoustic rating here and fire rating IFC properties. In the end of a property row to the right, we have, well, first of all, again, here you have the chain icon showing that a mapping rule is assigned to it, and the mapping rule itself is on the right side. So if I select the fire rating property, the top right corner of the dialog shows the valid rules for the property and their content. So the fire rating property has these two rules to it. Now, what do these two rules mean? In this example, it means that first we assign the GSList fire rating library part parameter to the Windows fire rating property, and second, if that first property is not available for a window element, then the general fire rating window schedule parameter will be assigned to it. Now, how did those mapping rules get there? How did we assign them? Adding a schedule parameter assignment as a rule is not difficult. Basically, you just add this button, add parameters. You just click on this, and then search for the window parameters such as fire rating. So this was the one that was added first. Now the second one, this our main rule, the one that overrides the other one, is done a little bit differently. A GDL parameter can be assigned to an IFC property in two different ways. It can be assigned as library part dependent or as a library part independent data. If we click on add object parameter, so if this little arrow opens down and I click on add object parameters, we are talking about Windows, right? And I will type the Norwegian window here and look for Windows. And I will select this Windows 6 library part. And then down here, I have to look for the GSList fire rating. Variable. So once I found this variable, that's the one that represents the Brandklasse Norwegian window fire rating parameter. I still have two options here. I can choose the add button, in which case the selected parameter will be added to the mapping rule as a library part dependent parameter. So it will be valid for IFC windows modeled with the Windows 6 window library part only on the Windows 6 level. However, if we use the add as library part independent button, and I'm going to add this as that, okay. See, I got the same parameter that we already had. In this example, the parameter will be available for all IFC windows modeled with any window object having this parameter. So any window that has the GSList fire rating parameter will be added, will have this rule. In this example, the rule assigns the GSList fire rating parameter, which now is added twice, but I will remove one of them, to IFC window elements only on the IFC window level, but not on the specific instance level. So it's a generic rule. I will remove it. So we only have one of them. And one last thing to show you, that of course, rules can be defined on higher levels too. So for example, I clicked on IFC element level, and here also I could define mapping rules in this right side. So for example, if the previously mentioned library part independent fire rating GDL parameter is assigned on an IFC element level, the parameter value will be used for not only the windows, but for all building elements, MEP elements, etc., that have this GS list fire rating GDL parameter available. Now, we are still staying in this window. One last thing to show you, that I clicked on this Uniclass 2 classification reference in the middle part of the window. Besides properties, and in addition to previously mentioned ARCHICAD classification systems, we can give a classification reference to elements for the arrangement of objects into a class or category according to a common purpose, or so that they possess common characteristics as well. For example, classification references could narrow the nomenclature of building elements and spaces by their function based on local standards such as Uniclass in the UK, OmniClass in the US, Australia uses NetSpec, New Zealand uses CBI, Talo is in Finland, and Sweden has BSAB, etc. There are more examples. There have been around 15 classification standards available in ARCHICAD. So in this example, the product specification of the Uniclass 2 standard is set as a classification reference. So for example, here in the scheme setup window, the BIM manager could set Uniclass 2 as the classification reference system, and then we will show you how to get data into this classification. Where are we able to choose among the categories defined, for example, by the product table of Uniclass 2. So for that, we have to go back to the Windows settings dialog and open the Manage IFC Properties again. And under Tags and Categories, we can click, the Manage IFC Properties was the under all the IFC tags and categories, but here, once we are in the Manage IFC Properties window, we can click on the Apply Predefined Rule button. And because I played around with this file, it already has Uniclass set here, but there's all these other options. And because we were standing on a window, I have a window selected in the main ARCHICAD window. I have those properties that are available for a window, so I could choose, for example, I couldn't choose spaces because those are for zones, but I can choose products. And I will look for the products table. I have to choose for the proper, for example, let's say now I will look for wood window. And I could choose any of these, but I will choose, for example, hardwood window and click Apply. And this table was filled out by the product table of Uniclass 2. However, I didn't show you, but before we applied this Uniclass 2 product table to our classification as a classification reference, all this data was available, it was empty, and we could have filled this out by hand as well. The chosen iter with identifier and name is assigned to the current scheme's Uniclass 2 classification reference data. And if you look at the details of the data, it shows that besides the two major pieces of data, which is here the identifier and the name, these two, there is more data in the classification standard, such as the standard name, the version, and the addition name here, addition date as well. So this was about classification reference, and I'm going to OK that, because the file that we will be sending out to Solibri, it will be expected to have this information. So we will look at types for a bit. IFC code. The IFC code also allows us to assign element instances to types, so-called IFC type product. The type product defines particular styles and types of entities by relating them with common IFC properties. So for example, the IFC window style is an IFC type product to which many IFC windows belong. ARCHICAD automatically generates IFC type product entities for all ARCHICAD element types, and the table shows default naming examples that drive the automatic IFC type generation. So let's see some examples for the default type generation listed in this table. If you look at IFC column type, is generated based on collecting the columns up here in the uppermost row, collecting the columns having the same profile or building material and the same profile size. Now we are going down. Curtain walls. Curtain walls are too complex, and all curtain walls are in one type by default. In case of IFC window style generation, just the library part name is considered. And the reason for that is that the default rule does not check the differences in the window sizes and frame materials, and the type generating rule in the case of a window would be too complex and could change based on local requirements. So instead, a simple rule is applied to windows, which is of course editable, and we are going to show you how to edit it. Because, for example, in the case of a window, it's often going to be necessary to edit the basic default type generation. So for that, we are going to use another view, displaying windows and walls only. And we will check the window and wall types. The IFC type product and their properties can be managed with the IFC Manager. So I am gonna go and open the IFC Manager again. And down here, you can see the types. Under the IFC model hierarchy tree, we can manage the IFC specific model entities. The left button here that I hovered over is the assignment, and we will be discussing this later during this training. But now I have clicked on IFC type product, and because I have the little I clicked on, it's only going to show me model elements that are visible in my view. And because I have a view that only have windows and walls in it, I have all the window types and wall types listed here. As we can see, the window styles are defined by the used window library part names, right? And we talked about this, that the default matching is based on the library part names only. So you can see that the library part name defines the window, IFC window style window 01, for example, and window 02. The instances are defined by a library part and automatically assigned to the same named type. The type generation, however, can be overridden with a rule assigned to the name attribute of IFC type project. So if a library part name is not sufficient to identify window types, as the windows may be created with the same library part, but let's say the opening sizes are different, we can assign a custom automatic naming rule that also contains size data. For example, if we need size data, we will set it up so that that's included for our reference. So I am going to go and open the IFC scheme setup again. And go to IFC window style in the model hierarchy tree. Oh, I need the types, sorry. See, these were the IFC element, but now we are modifying types. So I need the IFC window style type. And I'm going to click on the name because we will be modifying the name type attribute. How are we going to do that? Basically, I'm just clicking, I want a new rule. We had the default rule, right, based on the library part name, and we want to modify that. We are going to add more elements to it. And what is the new rule going to have? I have the freedom to decide that. And we are going to still keep having, under general, we will keep the building material attribute. I will add the library part name because we still need that, even though that was the default as well. These are the two that I need from general. And then I'm going to need sizes. I have said I want the size of the window referenced. So I will add height and width. And I have added these basically in alphabetic order, but I have the freedom to move it around. First I want the library part name, and then width by height is more customary. So basically this new rule that I'm defining defines the window style names by listing all these parameters in addition to the default library part name. Of course, I could have left out the library part name if I wanted. And we can also modify the format of the name with separating the parameters with static text. So just to make it more elegant, I'm going to insert dashes. Oops, dash, not an underscore. And then what do we usually put between width and height? We usually put an X, width times height. Okay. And once the IFC Manager is refreshed, the previous types are removed and totally new and more window styles are generated, as the new rule contains more type separation conditions. So if you look, the previously defined library part name only is replaced with our naming rule. We have even the dashes nicely here and the X. And so this is, we will see how this is translated into our IFC file and into the Solibri viewer. How does it look there? One more thing that I would like to show you in the IFC Manager, that the IFC Manager can also be used for navigation inside the project too. So for example, we can easily find windows assigned to a window style. Let's say I want to find this window style, this empty 390 by 390. We have 3 instances of this window style, and I can go ahead and select those 3 windows in the model. Wonderful, it's hidden somewhere, it's hidden behind, so I'm gonna use another one. Yeah, I will choose another one. Here we have these other 3. Let's hope we can find these. Yes, here. So these are, I wanted to find these 190 by 390 window 4s, and the manager can be used for that too. Okay, so let's see, as I have talked about it previously, how all this information goes through to our model viewer. I have switched to Solibri model viewer and check, let's say first, the properties of a window. And you can see that the values of the IFC properties mapped by GVL parameters, including the acoustic rating and fire rating that we have specified, are here. So we have, again, those 2 properties that you remember by heart by now. And they're also under classification. If we go under classification, we also have the hardwood window Uniclass 2 product category that we have set in the IFC Manager under Uniclass 2. And if we switch to component hierarchy up here, you can also see that our window naming rule came through. Of course, we have exported this file before, but we used the same file. the exported window styles with the formatted name attribute are here and can be listed under the window group in the model tree. And of course, a type contains the windows assigned to it in the exported IFC model as well. So we have the instances, and I choose the different one now, but we have the two instances that belong under that type as well. So back to ARCHICAD again, and we are proceeding towards the last couple of items on that list of property management tools that we wanted to show you. All instance IFC properties that we defined with values in the current project, or even if we imported them from an IFC model, can be displayed in 2D views. They can be displayed in floor plans, sections, and elevations as well. To display IFC properties in a 2D view, we can apply a label tool to building elements or extend the zone stamp content in case of ARCHICAD zones. As it has been shown before, the tags and categories element settings panel, and I will go closer to this label, includes the IFC properties of instances. So to display them in a label, I have selected this label object, and it gives the possibility to add the tags and categories the data to its content. So if we go, and in this view we have two different labels, but this bigger label lists all IFC properties that have values. It's a generic label that lets us insert IFC properties among other data. So if I choose this additional tags pop-up at the content settings and hit display all, which we have done for this label, the tags and categories data, including IFC data with values, are listed by the placed label. If we would choose create sorting, we could also customize this list, but we will show the create sorting with the other label. We can also set that in case of IFC properties, we would like to list the property set names together with the properties, or the properties only with this checkbox. This checkbox is what governs this setting. So it was about this bigger label, and let's look at the smaller one. ARCHICAD 19 allows us to assign more than one label to an element, and also gives us new labels as the tags and categories label. It was a new addition to our label library. This label object is applied here, and it's our smaller label. It's only smaller than the previous one because we chose it to be smaller with the create sorting option. So if we look at this label setting, it has the create sorting switched on, and only element ID and two IFC properties are used. So if you look here, we set that we only want acoustic rating and fire rating to be listed. If the custom status is used for a parameter, this setting here, the displayed name of the parameter is customizable, so we can define a totally different new name, or just modify the name style, such as we have done here by adding space between acoustic and rating. We have defined how we want it to appear in the label. Or the same thing is done here with fire rating. We didn't want it to appear like in the standard IFC pset property, but we have given it sort of a regular, more readable, more understandable title. IFC properties can be displayed in 3D documents as well. Thanks to labels again. And here we have labeled different structural element types with their design ID, structural material, and profile. IFC properties can be used as searching criteria as well at the find and select function. And again, this is a preset search criteria list. For example, if I want to be looking for precast hollow core panels modeled as beams with Tekla structures, it's a pretty specific need that I might have in a project, but I am able to narrow the target group to a given profile name and a given panel length as well. So I have given a profile name, a size, beam width, etc. And I can go ahead and select those items, and I have 4 of these beams in the model. And again, it could be something to be exported, as I could filter for its visibility and export it to IFC based on my specific search criteria. Let's see a little bit about schedules. Instance IFC properties can also be listed, of course, in element schedules. And this table, for example, summarizes the steel columns imported from Tekla structures and their major properties and quantities. The quantities are calculated from the geometries by ARCHICAD, but the properties are all coming from the merged IFC structural model from the Tekla common property set, and I could add any other IFC properties to it as well. So this was just sort of a short mention of how IFC properties can be listed in element schedules. And then our last point for today is how tags and categories and schedule data, instance IFC properties, can also be shown by elements and spaces in Vmax models. And you might have seen some of that in our IPC demo as well. You can create a publisher set for the export to Vmax by using the upload Vmax hypermodel publishing method. And we have a Vmax publishing set here. Basically, at this info set pop-up window, you could select an existing schedule. We have selected here the Tekla model columns, but it could also, but the general tags and categories window could be exported to Vmax as well. So all this information could be shared, all instance IFC data as additional model properties. So this concludes our demo for today, but we won't go away.